For years, Windows users have heard the same sentence over and over again. Linux is only for programmers. Linux is hard. Linux breaks things. Linux is not for normal people. And every time someone mentions switching to Linux, the internet instantly fills with warnings, memes, and horror stories. So we decided to do something simple but controversial. We asked a group of everyday Windows users to stop using Windows completely and live on Linux for one full week. No dual boot. No going back just for a second. Linux only. What happened next genuinely surprised everyone. At the start, most of the participants were nervous. These weren't Linux enthusiasts or tech YouTubers. These were regular people, office workers, students, casual gamers, freelancers, and home users who had been on Windows for years, some for decades. For many of them, Windows was the computer. They had never installed an operating system before. They had never typed a terminal command. Linux, in their minds, was a black screen with green text where one wrong command deletes your entire system. That fear was real. The experiment began with installation day, and this alone already challenged a lot of assumptions. Most participants expected installation to be complicated, slow, and risky. But when they saw graphical installers, simple language, and clear options, the mood changed almost instantly. For several users, installing Linux took less time than a Windows update. No forced account sign-in, no product key, no ads during setup, no "please wait while we prepare your device." Just install, restart, and you're in. The first boot into Linux was where reactions started getting interesting. People noticed how fast the system felt. Not just boot time, but everything. Opening apps, browsing files, launching settings, even simple tasks felt instant. On older laptops that struggled on Windows 10 or 11, Linux felt like the machine had been upgraded. One participant said it felt like buying a new laptop without spending any money. That comment alone shocked the rest of the group. Of course, the first day wasn't perfect. Muscle memory is powerful. People kept searching for the control panel. Some tried to install .exe files. Others looked for familiar Windows apps like Notepad, Paint, or Microsoft Office. But instead of frustration turning into rage, something unexpected happened. Most of them adapted quickly. They found alternatives, and in many cases, they liked them more. Office work was one of the biggest concerns before the experiment. Many believed Linux couldn't handle serious documents or spreadsheets, but after a few hours with LibreOffice and online tools, that fear faded. Files opened fine, formatting stayed intact, printing worked. For most users, nothing broke. One participant even said they didn't realize how little they actually needed Microsoft Office until it was gone. Web browsing turned out to be a non-issue. Chrome, Firefox, Edge, everything was there. Bookmarks synced. Extensions worked. Streaming services played without issues. YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, all ran smoothly. For casual users, Linux already felt familiar by the end of day one. And that was shocking because they were told it would feel alien. Then came software installation, another area where expectations were completely flipped. Windows users are used to hunting for installers, dodging fake download buttons, and clicking through pop-ups. On Linux, opening an app store and installing software with one click felt almost too easy. No malware scanners screaming in the background, no random toolbars, no restart required after every install. For many, this felt cleaner and safer than anything they had experienced on Windows. By day two, confidence started replacing fear. People stopped asking, "What if I break something?" and started asking, "What else can this do?" They explored settings, they customized themes, they changed icons, colors, layouts, and fonts. Something Windows users rarely do because Windows doesn't really want you to on. Linux, customization felt encouraged, not punished. One participant said it was the first time their computer actually felt like it belonged to them. Performance remained a constant talking point. Fans were quieter. Battery life improved on laptops. Systems didn't slow down after hours of use. There were no random background updates hijacking the system, no forced reboots, no sudden lag during important tasks. Windows users are so used to these things that they don't even realize how disruptive they are until they disappear. Gaming was the big wild card. Everyone expected this to be the point where Linux failed completely. And yes, not everything worked. Some games refused to launch. Certain anti-cheat systems were still problematic. But the surprise came from how much did work. Steam installed easily. Proton handled many Windows games better than expected. Popular titles ran smoothly, sometimes with equal or better performance. Casual gamers were especially shocked because all the games they cared about worked without any tweaks. One gamer admitted something interesting. They spent more time actually playing games, instead of troubleshooting drivers and updates on Windows. Game night often starts with updates, reboots, and crashes. On Linux, once it worked, it stayed working. That stability left a strong impression. Midweek, something unexpected happened. Participants stopped thinking about Linux. It just became their computer. That mental shift was huge. The operating system faded into the background, which is exactly what most users want. They weren't fighting the system. They weren't babysitting it. They were just using it. Security and privacy became another eye-opening topic. Many participants had no idea how much data Windows collects until they compared it with Linux. No forced telemetry. No ads in the start menu. No suggestions to buy subscriptions. No constant reminders to sign into cloud services. The system felt quieter, more respectful. One user described it as peaceful, which is not a word normally associated with operating systems. Of course, Linux wasn't perfect, and the experiment didn't hide that. Hardware compatibility caused a few hiccups. Some fingerprint readers didn't work. One Wi-Fi adapter needed extra steps. Specialized professional software like certain Adobe tools remained unavailable. But instead of these issues becoming deal breakers, they became trade-offs. Participants weighed them against the benefits, and surprisingly, many felt the trade was worth it. By day 5, opinions had changed dramatically. At the start, most participants rated their expectations of Linux very low. By now, many rated their experience higher than Windows for everyday use. What shocked everyone wasn't that Linux worked, but that it worked this well with so little effort. The final day came with one simple question. Would you go back to Windows? The answers were not what anyone expected. A few said yes, mainly because of specific software or work requirements, but the majority hesitated. Some said they would dual boot. Others said they would install Linux on their next PC. A couple said they were done with Windows entirely. One participant summed it up perfectly. Windows feels like a product you're allowed to use. Linux feels like a tool that works for you. That statement captured the entire experiment better than any benchmark or feature list. The real shock wasn't that Linux is powerful. Linux has always been powerful. The shock was that Linux is now normal. It's not just for servers, programmers, or enthusiasts. It's for students writing assignments, parents browsing the web, freelancers working on projects, and gamers relaxing after work. The myth that Linux is unusable for everyday people simply didn't survive a full week of real use. What this experiment proved is something the tech world has been slowly realizing. Modern Linux distributions are not almost ready. They are ready. Ready for real users, real work, and real life. Windows users weren't shocked because Linux failed. They were shocked because it didn't. And maybe the biggest takeaway wasn't about Linux at all. It was about choice. For the first time, many participants realized they don't have to accept slowdowns, ads, forced updates, or lockdown systems as normal. There is an alternative, and it's free, fast, and respects the user. So the next time someone says Linux is too hard, too niche, or too risky, remember this experiment. Ordinary Windows users tried Linux for just 1 week, and the results shocked everyone, including them. If this story sounds familiar, or if you're a Windows user curious about Linux, maybe the real question isn't, is Linux ready for me? Maybe the question is, why didn't I try this sooner?